Yes, it's great.
Yes.
Yes.
So it's our great pleasure with becoming with you, and it's also a great encouragement for our students and to our university also. That's why we have been waiting you. And shortly we'll be starting. Uh, how should I start, Dr. Bista? I think it is better starting from you.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely great.
Okay.
I still hear some background noise. Probably it's better if you mute your microphone so the echoes can go away. To all the students, mute your microphone so the background noise will go away. All right, thank you. Um, First of all, thank you so much for inviting me to the class. It's feeling me as if I'm in Midwestern right now or somewhere in Surkhet. It's very exciting. My name is
Okay. Thank you,
Krishna,
sir.
Associate Professor of Higher Education at Morgan State University in Maryland. And I have been teaching lots of research courses, some courses in educational management and planning, which we call educational leadership. And the good thing is I was in Midwestern back in 2016. It looks like just yesterday. And when I see Professor Gewali and many of you guys here, it's a really exciting moment for me. Thank you again. Thank you for having me. Great. So what is next? Professor Goali, do we do introduction or just, since you have many of you, maybe it takes time to introduce. Maybe we can directly
Okay.
go to the topics. I can see each of your name here, which is great, right? So let's talk the courses. How are you doing? Would you like to say it, one or two of you, unmute your microphone and share me your experience? Are you in the first year or second year? What your plan once you finish the course? Are you teaching or planning to teach? I know schools are closed now. I'd like to know, just unmute microphone and one or two student, share what you are doing, what your career goal is, what it looks like in next 5 years, your plan. So who would like to volunteer first? Let's start from Uma. I think Uma, I know you, right? I don't know. Would you like to introduce yourself and tell me what year you are? Are you in the first year of your program or second year? And what is your career goal? Uma, I see your microphone on mute, so maybe you can go ahead and after that I will ask Pramod. I'm going to this side of my screen and the other side of the screen.
Okay, thank you, sir. Actually, I would like to welcome you on the behalf of Bageshwari Multiple Campus, uh, one of the constituent campus of Midwestern University, which is in Kohalpur. And we are here, some students and me, the course facilitator of them, and 5 students and me from Bageshwari Multiple Campus. Actually, I have facilitated some parts, almost 35% of the course. And it's all third semester students.
Okay. So master's in education, third semester.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm at third semesters, and this is the course critical discourse analysis and critical pedagogy.
Mm-hmm.
And we have just started, and students are getting some insights on it, and we are very hopeful that they will have lots of insights today on the course.
Awesome. All
Thank you,
right.
and once again, welcome to you.
Thank you. Back to you, Uma. Oh, you are here. Okay, go ahead. We didn't hear you anything.
Yeah.
All right. Looks like Uma's microphone is not working. So who would like to volunteer? Anyone wants to volunteer? Maybe, okay.
Okay.
Us?
Okay. Good evening, sir. If I listening. Okay, it's our pleasure, and we like to welcome Krishna Bista sir from our campus, Midwestern University, Surkhet. And now I'm one of the third semester students of Midwestern University, Surkhet. And since 10 years, I am teaching in government school. As well as before that, I was working in institutional school more than 3. Due to that coronavirus, now we are joining in that virtual classes since 10 days. I think it's our that 11th or 12th class on
Mhm.
online. So it's our pleasure to have with you today too. So most of us or we students are interesting and exciting to take the that such virtual classes, and we hope we will get the chance to have with you again as this much.
Thank you. Thank you. So are you all of are all the students in the same course, critical discourse or linguistic,
Sopan, sopan
or
lang.
different courses?
We're having the same course because we are from the same university, sir.
Okay, that's awesome. All right. So we begin definitely. Um, I don't know where to begin from, but it's very exciting to see many students, and this is again giving me the exact same experience that I had or I used to have when I was teaching in Nepal. I am originally from Bhojpur, and many of you, I assume, have been there or might have encountered with the friends from the eastern part of the country. Um, so probably this evening we can talk. I have my 5 years old boy here in the background. Sorry, I apologize for the inconvenience. Yes, here also we have been working from home. Schools, colleges are closed for a month and probably will close for another month. Still, we don't know. So glad to hear that all of you are safe, fine at home and working. Maybe this evening we can focus on a couple of things that I like to share with you, if that's okay. And I said a chapter from the book which was about the research in second language education or teacher education um, program. I started my career from arts and humanities as a student of the English and sociology, and later on I changed my program into education. And therein I found the beauty of earning a degree in education. I was really excited. Okay, looks like we have the other. Okay, that was the message in the chat room. So I was telling you my career transition. I started my education with the English, math, and sociology, and later on I changed into education with a B.Ed and M.Ed, and then specialist, which we call MPhil, and then doctoral degrees, all of them in education. So with that extensive background in English, sociology, math, and going to teaching, I really enjoyed the later part, the teaching, doing research, more hands-on activities rather than reading too many poems or stories. So to be honest, I enjoyed. I was the first student in the class in my English program. I honestly speaking, I didn't enjoy it that much with the poetry, the dramas, or essays. So in last 10, 15 years, many of my research articles, the book project are around student experience, teaching and learning, and institutional relationship, leadership, organizational theory, and that's where I am more interested. So what I was planning to share with you is how we can become culturally responsive teacher. That's the topic I like to speak maybe 5 or 10 minutes. Culturally responsive teacher, usually that applies anywhere in any classroom. If you are teaching a small, we call young professional, the children, let's say in the middle school, high school, or even in college, we have students from different background meaning not necessarily, the rich or poor, but also, the students from different caste, ethnic groups, and different, their religious, cultural background. And as a teacher from one ethnic group, let's say if you belong to Gurung community, and Gurung community culture, language are different from the another communities of the Rai or Dimal or any other, the groups that you have. And also we looked into the background of the students, where the person is from, what does his or her family look like. Some of them may be living in extensive family of the 10 or 15 members. Some of them may have a small, family union or family group of 2 or 3 members in the family, and they have a wide range of experience, coming from that family members. So so as a teacher, how you become culturally responsive teacher, and how you bring those experience into a classroom. I know when I was in Nepal, most of my teachings were lectures. That's because I was not familiar with a wide range of teaching skills, as well as the teaching the styles. So it's more teacher driven, and even now at this moment we are doing teacher driven, because I am giving one way information. In a minute we'll come back there. So one of the way you can definitely do is sharing your personal experience. As a classroom teacher, always bring your experience, and this is something we hesitate in Nepalese context. We do not feel comfortable to share who we are, you know until my all undergraduate to know anything about that teacher other than he or she comes to the classroom. I didn't know his family or her family members. I didn't know where they went for education. Even I didn't know what was the topic they did research later on, the dissertation, the thesis. And now, staying here in the US for 10, 15 years, and teaching here another 10, 15 years, the one thing I learned is it's more about, sharing who you are, and also asking students where they come from, what they bring in a classroom, and how you can connect one student to another student. That's the one thing. For and you can begin from any of your experience. For example, when I was in Midwestern, in a Surkhet area for maybe a week or so, couple of things strike me. Couple of things were surprising. The first thing, I was constantly comparing my childhood that I spent in Bhojpur, and the living standard, the geography, and and other advantage that you have in Surkhet Valley. So that's the first thing I compared. Then the other thing, I was comparing myself with the change of time. For example, Surkhet was more geared toward music, restaurants, foods, and other things. It's particularly the typical songs and dances that people have in those musical restaurants in Surkhet. That was the other thing. And and the last but not least was the small museum that was near the campus, and there was just one ostrich, and there were lots of people coming to see the that particular animal. Ostrich was not something new for me, but the way local people were coming to see the bird was curious, right? And so in one way it was so silly, the other way it was more educational for those kids who had never seen that animal before, right? So as a teacher, how do you connect? Instead of laughing at the small situation, probably we can bring up the positive aspect of connecting our students. So that's what we can call probably connecting to dots while teaching students, bringing the references of anything that is available locally. And now all of us are at home, we don't have access to go market or any other things. How do you make your kids focus in teaching and learning with locally available resources? And now I have a kid, 5.5 years old boy, and I have been experimenting, I've been exploring how homemade materials can be excellent way of teaching children. So nowadays, I bring lots of home materials from the cooking, utensils to, anything, paper, pencils, anything that you have in the home, gather them and focus on a topic that you want to teach. For example, yesterday, I had a measuring tape, the tailor's measuring tape, and then I gathered books, pencils, desk, furniture, boxes, anything. So I asked him just to measure it, write it on the paper, and count and sort them and order them by their size, by their weight and height. And you are teaching still the concept of measurement using locally available materials. And as a teacher, that's also another skill of you, how you connect a student in his locally available resources. Many of us, nowadays automatically geared or shift toward a market or commercialized item that we want to bring in a classroom. And Professor Gyawali remembers his days, we did not have a marker pen. We didn't have, any other luxurious items that we have nowadays in a classroom. It's just a, blackboard and chalk and duster. And still you have those in some of the schools or the classes. And if, you had those things, you were the lucky one. And we had many days where teacher did not have a chalk or duster. And nowadays we have a modern technology, and lots of iPads, digital devices, including iPads or other thing, and you can definitely use. So while talking the culturally responsive teaching, also we should not forget the political, the shift, how government, how the country or our nation, sometimes force its agenda in teaching. And in Nepal, that's happening, particularly the division between the religion, with those Hindus, Buddhists, and also the immersion of the languages. I see lots of focus in Gurung language, Rai language, and Newar language. A focus gearing toward that, the priority on the language, which is nice. I think our kids deserve to learn more than one language. And I think we should feel proud of teaching our students, our children, more than one language. The flip side, the opposite direction of that is sometimes children are not interested, or as a parent, sometimes we forget to speak those languages to them. And other time, we happen to think that English is the best, or the Nepali is the modern language, and absolutely we should cherish them, right? Sometimes we forget to see the value of our local languages. And in recently, I see in Nepal, the priority is given to English medium school, and if you speak English, you learn everything. But think yourself, how many of you really know English very well? I remember, a story. There were 2 or 3 stories written by Jack London about dogs and wolves in my BA or MA course when I was in Nepal. I know that was a story about the dog. Other than that, I didn't know anything. After 15 years, just last week, I watched the movie, about Jack London's, and I know it was probably one of the best book. Until then, nothing. Another story with the uh, Huckleberry Finn by Mark Twain. There were 2 stories by Mark Twain, used in the course, and it was so typical. I didn't read the book. I passed the exam. I don't remember what teacher taught. And now when I read the, Huckleberry Finn, the story written by Mark Twain, it is so typical American story. Now it makes sense, but it did not make sense 10 years ago. So we are enforcing ourselves to teach those concepts, those ideas that were not relevant to our everyday life. As a teacher, how do you make relevant? You have books printed by Oxford or Cambridge, or you have a books printed in India, or many of the stories in the books are not based in Nepal, right? How do you teach those things? I think as a teacher, the closest thing is that you can bring some relevant concept and you bring in the local context. I remember, going to the theater to watch A Doll's House A Doll's House was a play by Henrik Ibsen. Some of you might be familiar. And this is the one of the Norwegian story that happened in Norway. We were not in Norway, right? So what they did is, in the story, it was more about the Christmas and the national festival of the Norway, but the play that was acted in Nepal was based in our local festival. It was about the SLTE. And it makes sense to us when you convert the story in a local context, or you can give a references, similar references. So that's my point here, that most of the time we teach things saying that you do not know, or you did not understand, or my student don't know, or teacher doesn't know. Always we go from the deficit perspective. Deficit meaning not knowing. My student do not know, so I'm teaching this. My students are not good at English, so these are the books, introduced here. Always we are going from deficit perspective. So as an educator, I think we should go with the positive aspect, not the deficit one. Focus on what you have. As a teacher, you grew up in a village, probably you grew up in a town, right? Come with the thing that they bring. Always make them powerful, empower them, thinking that they have something and they can build from there, rather than, no, they don't have and you should read this book or that book. As a teacher, try to have some autonomy. Try to have, some sort of power, and look into the characteristics, look into their backgrounds, the information they bring in a classroom, and connect them. I think that's the way we can go, rather than going through the deficit perspective, from the fact that they do not know. Go from the fact they know something. The other thing is, probably the important, is community-based field experience for teachers. How often do you take your kids outside? We have a restriction from principals. You have a 40 minutes class time period, right? You don't have enough. And the principal think that if you take kids outside, they make lots of noise, or there is no place to take them. Or you may think that my students are not really good, so if I take them, they will run away, or it's hard to manage them. We always have that mindset. We have a pre-developed, preset notion, and we are making boundary ourselves, thinking that, yes, these are the things, and it's making difficult. Why don't you challenge yourself? Yes, I know my students are noisy. I know I have 40 minutes, but still be that challenging teachers and take them out. Now, I know this is not the best time of the year to take the student out. Once you have better environment, probably in a month or two, if you are a classroom teacher, I think you should encourage your students to give an exposure to outside the classroom. Take them to local communities, maybe 5 minutes walk, and look around what you have around the campus, around the schools, and look into some of the things from historical perspective, some of the from sociocultural perspective, because you are, as an adult classroom teacher, definitely you can connect them. If you are teaching, the younger student, yes, that's something you can do. If you are teaching grown-up student like you, for example, if you are teaching 10th grade or 11th grade, or maybe first year of undergraduate, right? They are grown up in a way, you can give them some project. For example, depending on the topic, maybe you can ask them, why don't you interview your grandfather who is 75 years old in the family, and interview another person, your uncle who is just 30 years old, and now compare between their perspective of the 75 years old and 35 years on a topic, how things were back in 30 years ago or 75 years ago. And you will never ever get that experience. And this is the moment, it's the student getting this moment to connect with his uncle, with his grandfather, right? And comparing, and this is also a moment for him to reconnect with a family member. I know it's very simple thing, and most of the time we are not teaching simple thing. We are looking with way complex and teaching, and try as if we are making them rocket scientists. No, as a teacher, how we have to look the humanistic level, the human kindness. Rocket items, building engineer, those are the things they will learn in a science, mathematics, or other courses. As a teachers in a social sciences, in education, your job is how to make them kind human being, how to make them a person who can understand family members, their communities, their relationship, the social structure. There are other courses in the program that will help them to connect in other aspect. Make sense? Okay. Then I think the other thing is the critical social perspective. Critical social perspective in education context. Most of the time we are more receptive. We are just listening. We are just accepting ideas, either from radios or newspapers. Are we being critical? Let's say 35% of people in Surkhet valleys are poor. That's the report published in a local newspaper. What does that mean? 35 means of what age group 35? You have to be critical to ask question. 35, does that include the students or those who are working in a government offices, or does that include the professors? And who collect that numbers? 35 from where? Is that the best in the data collected 20 years ago or recently? And who collect and why? I think you have to be more critical for any perspective that you have. That's also the role of the teachers, and teacher-student relationships should look into those variables, those aspects. Can you unmute your microphone, and I will take 1 or 2 questions before I move to the next area or next. Yes. Surya, I see your microphone on.
Yes, sir.
Any question?
No, sir, it's good. First of all, thank you for allowing us to join this class. And today's, particularly I'm teaching at Gorkha United in Kolpur. It is also located in Midwest. As a social teacher, today I got very new and innovative ideas. Thank you for that.
Okay, thank you. Soba, unmute your microphone, and if you have a question, ask me 1 or 2.
Yeah, I have a question. Can I ask a
Yes.
question?
Yes.
Okay, so my question is, while applying communicative language teaching here in my school or where I teach English to my students, in one class where I teach, there I have students above 40 years who are learning English language for their professional development or for the easier to work in their official setting. So there, when I was just teaching their communicative language teaching, there I have faced many problems. That first one is the authentic exposure.
Okay.
Yeah, authentic exposure. So due to I just teach inside of the classroom, like I just facilitate them that how to talk and how to communicate with each other. And the very next day I come to them again to teach, and because of the exposure, they do not have the exposure to participate in for the communication in their social area or where they live. So the problem is, as you are just approaching the communicative language teaching, again the ancient type of just primitive type of teaching just drag all of us in the same way that we are we have to just bring up from there. So this is my major problem where I'm just teaching English as a language or as a subject. So this is the main problem for me. So authentic exposure, and other variabilities are the aptitude of the students, and social attitudes, and educational setting also matters. So when we try to do something new that to address our students appropriately, according to their level, according to their demand and needs. So sometimes the educational setting also occurs as a barrier to function or to do as we just thinking. And another problem here I'm just facing in school, when I'm just teaching in school, the books, the subject books are designed very ambitiously, and those are not communicative, and those are rather more subjective. And due to that reason, I have to address both things at once. I have to address the need of the student, the communicative needs, the actual learning of the language, and the subjective matters as they have in their book. And how the situation is here is the parents are just every day they are just very much curious about the percentage, that how much percentage that their student, their children are securing in their examination. So
Okay,
this is the
okay, that's
matter,
great.
very big matter for me to deal with the parents' expectation and the trend around us that we are having in our society, and the polluted competition among the schools that here we have in the, especially in private schools, you have this such kind of the problems. And
Great, Subhas. I
comparing
think
English language as a knowledge, that if someone speaks English, and then the parents think that, okay, my,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. What is the age group
yes
of your
sir,
student in a
are you getting me,
SLTE
sir?
class? Surya, Subhas, what is the age group? Age group of
So
your student in the class? Subhas, I think we got connection lost there.
Okay, sir. Age group maybe 10 to 16, 18, sir. 16, 10 to 16.
Okay, 10 to 16,
I,
that's the age
uh,
group in the class.
class.
Okay,
Okay, it may be junior than 2, but in average 10 to 16.
okay. Now that helps me to understand the scenarios.
Okay,
Good
sir.
question.
Actually, is questioning overall scenario of that school level up to 10,
Mm-hmm.
up to 10, our
Okay,
basic
I
level.
started my career as a elementary
Yeah.
English language teacher. So I remember still the cloud. There were two books printed somewhere in India, Communicative English 1 and 2. That's the course I used to teach. Here is a challenge. Yes, again, earlier I said we are always thinking, this is our mindset. I don't know why. It is always in our mind that we are always thinking that student do not know. And look, he has also, Surya has listed the same thing. Students are not listening. Parents are expecting too much, right? It's hard to manage these classes. Books are not good. So always we have that mindset. I think we have to reverse our thinking.
Yeah.
I know the fact the books are difficult, probably are not totally appropriate with the student level of English, which is okay, right?
Yes, yeah.
And as a classroom teacher, you can do one or two things. You cannot change the world in a day. You cannot make the student learn quickly. Imagine yourself, you are now somewhere between 20 to 25 years old, and that many years took you for your English. And for me, it took me 30 years. Still, I don't know. This is not my language. If you ask me to speak in Nepali, probably I can speak better than Nepal in English, right? We have to think that way. And I am in the US, have been here for 15 years. Still, I don't know. I don't understand many of the things
Yeah.
because I did not grew up learning English. This is not our first language, right? But we have to be very proud that the fact that we can speak two languages or sometimes three languages. We are very intelligent. Ask how many people in this planet are there they can speak two languages or three languages. If you ask here in average American, half of them do not know any other language other than English. Half out of this many billion in the population here. So we are so fortunate. We already know two languages or three languages. And regarding your classroom, the one of the thing is you as a teacher, as a classroom, instructor, you are not supposed to teach every single lesson, every single exercise, every single stories of the book. The book might be 200 pages, right? There may be 16 lesson or 16 chapters. Why do you finish? Your principal might ask, but you don't have to finish all. You can touch few, concept from each section, each chapter and move on. That's the problem we create ourselves. We are giving pressure on us, thinking that I should teach every single page of the book, and I should make a student know every single page of the book. We are creating problem ourselves.
Yeah, just a minute, sir. I want to, yes. Most of some students, yeah, if these chapters or exercises are not important, why did it kept in curriculum or syllabus? Sir, we have to go through the all exercises. Sometimes students can raise the question, sir. In nearly that grade 9 and 10, some students ask or think like this.
Yes, that's the thing happens here too. I asked my
Yeah.
student to buy 6 books, but we are not teaching all 6 books. We are teaching maybe 6 lessons, one from each. Books is a tool, is a resource. Go to the kitchen and see how many utensils you have, how many dishes do you have. Do you use all of them every day?
Yeah.
We don't use. Go to your closet, look into how many pair of shoes you have, how many pair of clothes you have. Do you wear all of them at the same time? Why do you have that many?
Okay. Thank you,
We
sir.
are not being critical. We always think that we are critical thinker. In our critical thinking, the fact that we misuse, that's the blind spot. We are never able to think outside the box, and that's what happened to me when I was. And that's why we need a teacher autonomy in making decisions, and it's our responsibility to help understand our principals, our fellow teachers. That's why you are taking these classes. That's why Professor Gyawali is inviting me and other professors, just to think ourselves, where are we wrong? Why we are keeping ourselves in so much pressure, right? And earlier he said parents are not happy. Of course I'm not happy with my little one. Of course your dad is not happy with you. Of course you are not happy with your children. That's the nature. We have to seek happiness within those circumstances. Maybe you can tell your parents, whoever come and complaining, yes, your child was able to learn these many words in last 6 months. At least we were able to read 5 books. It takes time to understand. These are not our stories. In English communicative language, all the stories are from outside, right? Outside of Nepal.
Yeah.
Most of the stories, we don't have any stories in our book that are about the Suket Valley or Nepal. These are the stories from England, US, India, or other part of the world. There are very few from Nepal, right? So how do we understand? These are the thing we have never seen, never experienced. And as a teachers, you can convince your parents, yes, your child, accomplish these 3 things in the last 6 months. And my goal is for next 2 items in next 2 months. You don't have to make happy everyone. You have to be a real person, live in the real world, at least with the minimum satisfaction.
Mhm.
That's what I felt. Even here in my class, teacher and student make decision how many lessons we teach. I know you might be thinking that this America, well advanced country, look at the number of deaths in corona, virus. This will tell you that no, this is also exactly a small country like yours. I know it's a big in the size, infrastructure, everything is same. Otherwise, 35,000 would not die when single person is not dead in Nepal, right?
Yes.
So it's a matter of how we choose content meaning chapters, individual chapter or topics in a lesson plan. That's why as a student in the education, that's the one advantage you have. You know how to make lesson plan compared to those students who were in arts, in MA or BA or IA. Nowadays we don't have a IA. In those courses, they never ever taught about what lesson plan is. But those who are in education discipline, you know very well, objective lesson plan, teaching materials, right? This is what your skill, these are your equipments, tools. And you can, and these are the tools like in the kitchen. And you make either dal tarkari or make pakoda or any other thing. But feed one item at a time. We are trying to feed Chaurasi Benjan in the same kitchen, right? When it is almost impossible.
Right.
Okay, that's a good question, in fact, and you give me a good perspective. And you might be asking me the same thing. Yesterday I emailed Professor Gowali our entire book, and I was telling him I will be teaching only chapter 2, and I have highlighted only maybe 10 sentences. That's it. And as a teacher, you can ask the question from those concepts that are relevant to the students. Even in a book, I bet 100% that you will not know everything from the book that you are teaching. Although you have 20 years experience, you have a college degree, still you don't know many of the things. If that's the case, why are we forcing our student to teach every single concept, every single page of the book? I know it sounds ridiculous, right? But that's the reality. Okay, let's move on to other questions. Okay, Narad, I see your microphone on.
Question.
Please.
Yes, Nepali people who have done master degree, MPhil or PhD cannot sing a song English smoothly and fluently. But we have seen one example when women from America can sing a folk song effectively, and but she is unable to give the right answer of the question asking by the another opponent.
Okay, I think I got your question.
What is the
Again, good point. Good point. The lady can sing a song in Nepali, and you said having this many years of experience and knowledge, we don't know even a song.
She has done PhD in Nepali literature.
Well, that does not surprise me. Many people nowadays have done their PhD in English from Nepal, right? It's okay. It's learning a language. It doesn't mean you have to sing a song. Singing is a art. A person who sings a Nepali song can sing English or Hindi, which is fine, no surprise, right? It's a matter of practice. It's an art, and you don't necessarily know the meaning of every single word. It's an art, so you can do it. And the same thing happens, right? Some of us, might have earned a PhD in English. Some of them maybe in Nepali, or maybe in Sanskrit or another language, Newari. It's absolutely fine. There is no surprise. We should not be surprised. The thing is why we are not able to, have that nativeness or have that fluency. This is the matter of where we grew up. In my case, I started learning English when I was 10 or 11 years old. I started alphabets, A and B's, ABCs from the age of 11 or 12. So no matter how many years I stay in the US or another country, I would never ever would have native closeness in my utterance. I will have all accent. I will have all Nepali-ness, Nepali way of speaking English. No matter how many years you live in Singapore or London or US, still you will speak Nepali way. It's very late. In the language acquisition, it is the universal thing that younger the better. When you are a child, yes, you learn. My 5.5 years old, he knows everything the perfect way because he grew up here and he has the exposure of that from the childhood. And your kid who is there, no matter how many years, right, it's still there, it will have that one, meaning it's hard to pick up the nativeness. So we should not surprise. These are the universal way of happening thing. So in any language learning, sooner the better. If you are the younger, it's a higher chance of having that nativeness. The other thing is, yes, earlier, Surya has pointed out very good point that the way we design our textbook, the way we develop the lesson plan is very, very advanced. We have never learned the child psychology, the beginning stage of where learning begins. I think we failed in a place context. So as an educator, all of you, in the master's program in education, education is a way of teaching, way of sharing the ideas. I think you are the one who should make that changes. I can share one example. This is the book, foot book. And the main goal of the book is to teach foot and feet. That's it. And it has a concept. This is the primary book, elementary book. And here, if you look into the lesson begins like this: left, right, left, right. Look the concept, just left, right, right, left. Look, and how many words? The book in Nepal would have all the stories, no pixels, right?
Yeah.
And there are very few concepts. Just it says left, right, left, right. That's the entire book is about left, right. And it says wet, dry. Other words are coming in together with the feet. Left feet, right feet, foot, and dry foot, and high foot, low foot, and then red. Red, black, white, the concept. And now again the same thing. Left, right, and now asking question, how many? Too many, right? How many? And it's counting. Let's go to the last page somewhere. All the stories. So in this entire book of maybe 15 pages, it has left, right, foot, feet, and how many, and counting. That's all. And as a classroom teacher, as if you can teach your kid maybe 2 items, that's fine. Left, right, and then how many? 1, 2, 3, 5. That's it for first grade.
That means you integrated approaches, but taken place here.
Right. It's coming with the physical education. It's coming with the math, counting. Right. It's coming with the English language literacy. Literacy is 1, 2, or foot, feet. Right. Very few words, and you can go anywhere. Okay, that's the one concept. Let's take 2 questions before I speak to. Any other question?
Okay, sir. I have another question. You are one of the dignified writer, author. I heard that from our teacher in the preliminary stage of our class. Is a good academic writer, but what should we do at first?
Go ahead. I heard that you are asking about the writing publication.
That means how to be a good academic writer. What sort of qualities are there to him or her?
This is also process. It takes time, definitely. I'm not good at writing stories. I'm not good at writing poems, although I write. And I write research papers. I'm not really good at writing research paper either. Sometimes I feel I don't know anything. What you do is, your job as a writer is simply write on a topic. And the thing is, you should share with the classmate, share with the teachers and the friend, and they will give you input, right? And then they will provide suggestion. And then if you are there to help improve based on what they said, then probably it will take you to the next stage of probably better, not the best. It's always hard to get that the best. So first thing first, choose the topic that you are interested in. Let's say I am interested in how to make primary education books interesting, right? How to make kids book interesting. This is the topic. Now then what I would do is I will look around, I will go to the library or the bookstore and then find the books probably kids will like. Second step, right? And then also I will read lots of articles around that topic. How many articles are written? what are the articles about how to make kids, lessons interesting, right? Then after you do homework, then you need to do experiment, because as an education student, I like to do some sort of experiment. So my experiment is from the bookstore. I selected 5 books, and now there are 5 students in my class. If you have 20 students, go with the 20 books. Ask them which book they like. Now I have 2 books. One is a very tiny one, right? The other one is a bit bigger one, and let them see which one. And all kids will not like the same book. Some student will like monkeys in the book. Some student will like maybe bicycle in the book. Other will like the cows and buffaloes, right? We don't know. So as an educator, then you make a decision, conclusion. Yes, students, learning depends on their background. If they are from farmers background, probably children are more geared toward the animals, right? If you have cows, buffaloes, or goats, then they are somehow interested to learn that. Maybe instead of the people, maybe you can have 3 cows and 2 buffaloes, and then have a conversation. Cow asks one question to another cow, and you may ask, yes, cow do not speak, that's fine, but why not, for the sake of education, we can have a dialogue of the 2 cows. They are going to the farm, right? And some of them ask question, how are you? The other one says, I am tired, I'm finding green grassland, something. This may be interesting. Then you generate what is interesting and helpful for you, for your teaching research. In my case, I do research writing related to the things that I really want to do in my classroom. Anything that is related to my life, about the stories of my students. In the US, there are too many students from different countries. So I asked them, what does it look like coming from another country in the US? What did they learn most? What did not enjoy the most? It could be foods, it may be lifestyle, it may be education, books. That's something you can do. And the same thing with the faculty. Here many of the professors are from different countries. I check with their lifestyle, their teaching style, same thing. And here is another book. I like to share you the concept. If you are an elementary teacher teaching in 1 to 5, probably this would be one good example. Here it's about the brown bear. In your case, you can make the same book with a cow or elephant. So here the first page starts with brown bear, what do you see? Right, this is all the starting in entire book. This is the entire page. These are the only 2 words: brown bear, what do you see? Maybe you can say red cow, what do you see? Or white cow, what do you see? So you have word color, red, white, black color. The second thing is see, right? You have a verb, what do you see? And this is teaching you how to ask question. This is a good book for class 1 even, or pre-elementary, right? And then in the next page it says this side, I see a bird, and it says, and the next page here is a bird, and it says red bird, what do you see? So again, it's coming to brown to the red, and what do you see? It's a skill of asking question. And now red bird says, I see yellow duck. Then yellow duck, what do you see? Look the concept, the brown, red, yellow, and yellow duck says, I see, here is I see a blue horse, and here is a blue horse. And blue horse, what do you see? And the blue horse says, I see a green frog. Green frog, what do you see? I see a purple cat looking at me. So it probably gives you the idea of how simple it is. So students are learning types of color, also learning how to ask question, right? Make sense? I think we are making complex about our teaching and learning. And now next one is going the white dog, and then a sheep, And then finally, goldfish. And finally, teacher. What do you see, goldfish? Then he says teacher. And the teacher, what do you see? And then finally, again, going back. Yes, I see all of them together. The book is structured in such a theme. And this is a classic book, printed probably 30, 40 years, no, 1996. 1996. So I think as an educator, your job is to reprint the book like this, and and also work with the publishers to print a book, a small book like this. Anyone, anytime can write. Just change the animals. That's it. Instead of writing too many boring stories. And I bet a student will love book like this, and it's very inexpensive. And nowadays, I know a student in our schools, carry probably how many books? 15 books. And every single person is author in Nepal. Every single person is a writers, right? And they sell their books.
Yeah.
Are they making a good book? I don't know. And here is another book. There are 10 ladybirds, and the entire book about counting 1 to 10. That's it. The entire book is about counting, and there are 10 holes. That's it.
Yeah.
Entire book about is counting the numbers starting 1 to 10. That's it. I think you got some ideas that we are teaching too much complex concept for our student, particularly in elementary level or schoolers. And the same thing applies even to the graduate students, undergraduate students in the context of Nepal. We have too many books, and we don't know why we are reading them, and why our professors are trying to teach every single chapters, right? Some of them are not applicable either. All right, I'll take 5 questions before I let you go. Anyone unmute microphone? Yes.
Okay, sir.
Okay. I have not heard any female voices here. I know we have many students here. I asked them if they have any questions. I know this is a typical nature of male-dominated society. Ruma, can you unmute microphone and ask your question? Or if you do not have a question, that's also fine. You are muted. Can you unmute? We do not hear you anything. I know your video is moving.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, we heard you now.
I want to ask a question with you that while preparing a question paper, just how we can focus communicative approach in a question paper.
Okay.
Just while teaching in a classroom, we focus communicative approach rather typically drastically we say, but while making question paper, how we can focus
what
communicative
grade
approach.
level are you talking? Which class are you talking? Which grade level?
Grade.
Examples.
I'm talking about secondary level, sir.
Secondary.
Yeah.
So 9 or 10?
9, 10. I'm a teacher from belong to secondary level. So.
Okay. So your question is, how do you design the questions, right?
Question communicative approach in a question paper.
Well, that depends on what lesson you teach in the classroom. Let's say you are teaching a story, right, to the students, then probably, go ahead. You have a question. No, I didn't hear you. Looks like somebody is sharing their screen here. That's a good question, and the difficult also to answer you without knowing the context. if I'm teaching, let's say, 9th grade in communicative English, probably I will design the question in a such a way that I will choose a familiar story, familiar context, not necessarily the context do not ask difficult question, ask the simple question and try to get more responses from the students rather than giving difficult choices. So one of the problem in Nepalese education, that's the part of where I grew up, is we give too many questions. We give a student too many questions. If it is an exam of 40 minutes, why not 1 or 2 questions? You guys want to give 10 questions or maybe 15 questions. And you take 2 days to score their papers, which is ridiculous. I'm the one always want to challenge my educational system. And I did that when I was in Nepal as well. We asked too many questions and give less option to our students. And so, Ruma, going back to your class, probably ask few questions, give more options where students feel comfortable to write answers. For example, if you ask a student to write the best story that they have ever read, this gives lots of options for them to choose. Instead of asking them write an essay on this topic, instead of saying this topic, here are the 5 topics, choose one of the best that you like, or 1 topic out of 5 and write an essay on. Give more. Here also I give 10 questions and I ask students choose 1 out of 10, and they are the master's and PhD student. When you have 10 options, probably you like 1 of them at least. The chance is maybe, we don't know. Okay, next question. Use your chat room. There is a chat room, and so we can ask questions. So here is a question from Ram. Do you? Okay, what do you? Anything to say? Okay. Okay. A question, please.
Excuse me, sir. I'm teaching from this district, Serdali district. There are so many students from different geographical diversity from remote areas. They reach school from their home from 15 minutes, and they said they are nothing to say. Their permission says, their perception is nothing to say. They write their answer according to their questions level, but their perception is nothing to say. How can we overcome such types of their speaking power? Can you share any idea, sir?
Can you tell me this question in Nepali?
Sorry, sir.
नेपालीमा भन्नुहोस् त यो क्वेशन के रहेछ?
सर हाम्रो अब धेरै टाढाका विद्यार्थीहरू विद्यालयमा आउँछन्, उनीहरूको पर्सेप्सन के हुन्छ भने लेख्नु त लेख्छन् सर हैन, क्वेशनको एन्सरहरू सोसियो कल्चरल एन्सरहरूको क्वेशनहरू लेख्छन्, तर तिनीहरूको पर्सेप्सन हुन्छ के भन्नु नसक्ने खालको हुन्छ, हेजिटेसनहरू हुन्छ। यसको ओभरकम हामीले कसरी गर्न सक्छौँ?
एक्ज्याक्टली, यस। अहिले तपाईहरु यत्रो 19 जना हुनुहुन्छ, मैले क्वेशन सोध्नुहोस् न भने सोध्नुहुन्न, 20 वर्षको भइसक्नु भयो। हाम्रो विद्यार्थी पनि एक्ज्याक्ट त्यही नै हुन्। एक त थाकेर आएका हुन्छन्, कति टाढाबाट आएका हुन्छन्, सोध्न त मन लाग्छ, सरले इंग्लिशमा भन्छ के हो कसरी भन्ने बनाउनै आउँदैन। अर्को कुरा डर पनि लाग्छ, मनै ढुकढुक हुन्छ क्वेशन सोध्दा। That's the situation. तर as a teacher, how do you encourage them? That's the challenge. Maybe हामीले जहिले पनि maybe I think we should be a easy teacher, a teacher who can help students. नेपालीमा भन्ने छ नि, ओहो त्यो मेरो फेभरेट टिचर हो, त्यो टिचरले त जे सोध्यो नि भनिदिन्छु भन्ने खालको हुनु पर्यो। I think how can you be an apple in their eyes, the best teacher? Best teacher त्यो भन्न सक्छ।
real problem sir.
प्रब्लम त मेरै घरमा छ, मेरै स्कुलमा छ, त्यही छ, सबैतिर प्रब्लम छ दुनिया नै, right? अर्को कुरा हो, I think we should have some minimum expectation from our students, not too much. विशेष गरेर नेपालको कन्टेक्स्टमा त इट्स भेरी च्यालेन्जिङ फर देम। घरमा कति काम सिद्ध्याएर आएको हुनसक्छ, थाकेको होला, कतिको किताब नहोला, अथवा कति विद्यार्थीहरूको अब यो कति हाई स्कुलमा पढाउने भनेपछि 16-17 वर्ष भनेपछि लभ अफेयर चलिरहेको होला, टेन्सन भइरहेको होला। They have two minds. Teenagers are difficult, obviously, naturally. I remember when I was in a high school teachers, मैले एक दिन पिकनिक लगाएको थिएँ, all the students disappeared, particularly those who were kind of couple. It happens. Okay. अर्को क्वेसन लियौँ।
Okay, sir. I have a question here.
Yes.
Can you hear me, sir? Okay, sir. So, sir, it's this question goes to your personal experience, sir.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay, sir. So when you just when you're just trying to establish yourself in USA, so as you said that you started with the elementary educator. So how was that experience, and how is the experience here? Still, you're just feeling like as you are just there in native speaking country of English, and you're the second language user of English. So how is the experience, and how was the experience at first when you just first establishing yourself here, sir?
Okay, I think that's a good question. It's very complex. It's always complex, always puzzle. Every day is new day for you. Every day is something new. It's hard to put together in the words. For example, if you are moving from a small town to big city, when I first time moved from Bhojpur to Kathmandu, you were overwhelmed. You were surprised by everything, right? The same thing here. It multiplies 500 times. Coming from a small country to big nation, you said that this is the country of the English is the first speaker, but many of people here are migrated. They are like you, like me. Yes, they have also different background, have also stories. The other part of the question, you said, how long does it take, or what are the steps to establish yourself? It's a long journey. It takes you years and years, and sometimes even that many years doesn't help at all. In my case, yes, I was a elementary teacher in Nepal. I think I taught about 5 or 7 years, in Nepal. And I came here when I was 25, so I was already adult.
Oh my
I had
God.
lots of experience teaching in Nepal, and having earned degree from Nepal. It was a bit easier for me, and I was also on a scholarship that helped me to finish my education. And when I was, taking classes, I was also teaching, so that gave me an opportunity to be, to have both experience as a student, as a teacher. And I was also one of the fortunate people to get a job, and move from a different rank, from one university to another university. I have been to 4-5 different universities. So it's a long road. It's in fact a long road, and without traveling it's hard to experience, hard to tell you, it's hard to narrate. So take one day at a time, one step at a time. It's definitely a long road. Okay, next
Sure,
question.
sir. And I have last questions here. So
Please.
I have heard that in USA there are some kind of like problems in schools, like bullying each other. So how did you see the practice of bullying inside of the school, and how did you treat your student, and how did you overcome on those kind of problems? Those are in front of you, or when you just see those kind of problems around you in your class, sir?
Right. There are many. In fact, bullying occurs in a school, college, university, and this country has also a long history of the race between black and white. Now, with the Hispanic, Latino, Asian, African American, and yes, it does have lots of issues. Believe it or not, when the first time I went to a local school here, as a supervisor to look into, to observe their classes, it was exactly like a school in Nepal, in a rural area, countryside, with limited resources. And that was the first time I thought that this is not US, this is somewhere, a part of my childhood in Nepal. The only difference is here they have lots of protocols, lots of policies, rules, and they follow most of the time. Teachers, principals, parents, they have understanding and they follow it. And there is a minimal expectations. Um, you are right. This society is not free of problems. It does have lots of problems, but we try to, cooperate with each other, with the teachers, parents, and uh, principals. Okay. Um. All right. Next question, if you have, we can take maybe one more. All right. Looks like you have no more question.
Yeah, I have a question here.
Okay, Narendra, go ahead.
We know that we are non-native speakers of
Mhm.
English language, but we have to speak and learn language and skills in English language.
Yes.
So, what is more important, to learn language or about the language in the context of Nepal?
Everywhere, I think the focus is on learning, not the language itself. We never know which language is gonna help you. I think the focus goes always on learning, and the learning takes place with the context, environment, what environment you have. Let's say I am super interested in music. I like to play guitar, right? But I don't have a guitar. As long as you are interested, somehow you manage, listening the videos or attending the programs. Your focus is how people play guitar, right? And your deep interest will desire you there. And again, going back to the uh, language learning also depends on the learning aspect, not necessarily the all aspect of language. Some people who speak English, they may not be good at writing. Those who speak well, they may not good at writing, vice versa. Um, so we try our best, and it's as a non-native English speaker, it's always challenge probably to catch up all the phrases and idioms, which is okay, as long as you understand what people say, as long as we read and write, comfortably. I think that's the purpose of the language learning. And writing skill is definitely takes longer time, longer than we expect. So as a matter of practice, it can go further, easier. Um, do continuous even today for me, no matter how many times I speak, still I make some errors, some mistakes. Words, the utterance, structures always happen, and I'm okay. I don't care. My goal is to speak. I don't focus too much how many error I make while speaking. That's okay, because it's not my language. All right.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Good question, Narendra. Any other question? Oops.
So I
Okay.
think we are at the end. Omaji, please mute your sound.
All right. Any other questions? And remember, Midwestern is a special university for us because we have a agreement between my university and your university. In a chat room, I am sending you a link in case in the future, if you plan to come to Morgan or any university in the US, maybe you can start making application. You said you are a third year, and it doesn't take long to finish the program. Maybe you can finish in a year or two. So go ahead and make application there. If you decide, you can come apply for the admission as well as the fellowship Fellowship means a scholarship. So there is a link in the chat room, and we have another wonderful professor, Dr. Gauli from Surkhet, your hometown. He and I are more than happy to help you. Maybe you can come for the master's degree or PhD, or who knows, maybe for a job. All right, there is a link. Any other questions you have?
Sure, I have a question here. So, as you just said, your experience. So, I'm just, I'll be feel amazed if you will just express some idea about how did you get scholarship, or just you just managed yourself, or is there any like criteria that we could probably follow to get a scholarship, to get the education abroad?
Okay, first homework is look into the links that I gave you and look into the eligibility criteria. All school, no matter where you go in the US, you need the language proficiency, you need TOEFL or IELTS. Then some school also asks GRE or GMAT, right? And also depends on your GPA from your current program or percentage. As long as you have a second division, first division, that's good. If you are in a GPA system, 3, I don't know, your GPA is 4. If it is 4, then 3 or above is something. You have to submit your essay or thesis. There are lots of things. So complete all of those things. Look into the website, visit at least 10, 20 websites of the university colleges and look into their criteria, what they are looking for, and work the item that you do not have. Usually they ask 4 years bachelor degree or master's degree, and which is you have, right, in a year or so. But focus on the things that you don't have. So I just email you, not the email, in the chat room. There are 2 colleges from my area. Look into their criteria and work from there. All right, other questions?
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much.
Yes, no problem.
Okay, Parmos sir, would you like to share anything?
Nothing to share, sir. Actually, we got lots of things from him, and especially he shares some ideas regarding how to become culturally responsible teachers, and they are really helpful for all of us. And I would like to just say thank you very much, and your ideas, your sharing are so much fruitful for students as well as for me.
Thank you, Pramod.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciated that kind words. I think we should be in touch, and maybe you should invite other professors. I do have many doctoral students. Probably they can teach, 1 or 2 lessons, but give them very simple, relevant, not too big and too complex. Considering the curriculum, the topics, all of them are not from education. Although they are earning a PhD in education, it doesn't mean they know everything. And their answer would be, I don't know. That means done. Okay. If you have any other questions, we can take certainly few. If not, that's fine.
Yes, I think it's all for today. And I really would like to thank Dr. Bista for your valuable time. And this is the second meeting, virtual meeting with you. The first time you gave on Skype class to our second semester students. That's around, I think, 4 years back. Then today, again, we are having another class for the third semester students. Especially, I think, today we know about the teachers in the different identities, just like what we need to do, what is our responsibility, and how we can manage the different things in the classroom and outside the classroom that you share today. That is very, especially we are highly encouraged with your ideas here. And really, we hope for such kinds of collaboration in future as well. And some other, like we can do as we tried last time, collaboration in assignment proposals also we tried. but that we could not complete that one. And if such kinds of opportunities we have, we can also do one. And these students who are working now are highly energetic and they're highly motivated as well. That's why we can develop other projects as well. So at the end, I would like to thank you very much from my own personal side and from the side of the university. And we will be in touch and we'll be developing different collaborative projects. Dr. Bista, thank you.
Yes, absolutely. And listen to Professor Gewali. He has traveled different countries and he has extensive experience. And also Professor Gewali has attended several conferences. So you are really lucky student, very fortunate to have a Professor Gewali in your class. He connects you any part of the globe. And also today, I'm so pleased that the internet has been working. The system is more reliable compared to the last experience, past experience. Probably we should read and come with the different topics and questions. So we should have another virtual session like this very soon. We should not wait another 4 years. So again, Gewali, thank you so much for the opportunity, and I wish all of you good luck to your study. Hope we can reconnect. I have given you my email. University is looking forward to receiving you here. Fill out application. It takes time. Everyone deserve, the second chance, even the first chance, right? You have not applied even the first time. So please continue doing that. All right. Thank you so much and good night in Nepal.
Okay, sir. Good night.
Thank you, sir. And thanks a lot to Edusra as well for connecting us.
Yes, that's amazing. Thank you.
Yeah, it's because he gave an opportunity to be connected with Bista sir, and I hope this kind of collaboration will continue in days to come.
He deserves the round of applause. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Professor.
Okay, Dr. Bista, be safe and stay at home. Okay. So here we can conclude today. Then
yes, sir.
I think on Monday, now we will have class at morning at 8. Parmo sir, are you ready?
Yes, sir. I will be ready then.
Yes, so on Monday we'll be talking about that one approach that was left in our syllabus, that is dialectal relational approach. And that class will be led by Parmod sir, and I will be also there in the silent zone, and he will be leading the class. Okay. Monday 8 a.m. and there we will be both Central Campus students and Bageshwari Campus students. Both students will be there, and we both will be there also. Okay, we both will be there. And until this lockdown, this collaboration of Bageshwari and Central Campus will be together. Yes, Parmod sir?
Yes, sir.
For this subject.
Yes, sir.
For this subject. Okay.
Okay, sir. That will be a great pleasure for us.
Okay, we'll go together up to lockdown.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Okay, so thank you all, and have a nice food and good night.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir, for providing us this great opportunity that we could never have without you. So thank you for making it possible, sir.
Okay, bye. And you can watch in YouTube also. That is live, and you can also get the recording as well. Okay, thank you.
Okay, sir.
Of course, sir. Okay. Thank you, sir.